Hey guys, I recorded an intro for this video, but I actually can't bear to watch it back because it's so f***ing cringy. So instead, I'm just going to skip to the part where I'm showing you all of the contents of the box of the AIO. You saw the title of the video, you know what AIO we're looking at, and I also got the LCD screen. So we'll go through all of that in this video and the installation process. Let's begin. So this is everything that comes with the AIO, and this does not come with it, but it is necessary. And I'll just walk you through what this all is. This is a mounting bracket for an AMD motherboard. This is a mounting bracket for an Intel motherboard. This is the hub that controls everything and connects it all together. This cable will plug this small end into this little input here. The other end goes into your CPU fan header or AIO pump header on the top of your motherboard. This is a micro USB to USB cable. The micro end will go here. The USB end will go on the bottom of your motherboard. This is the cable that's going to connect you to power. Now this end plugs into this input right here on the hub. The other end is going to plug into a PCIe cable, so that's why I brought this in here. Usually this will come with your power supply and it connects to your graphics card. You should have an extra one in there. If not, you might need to order one and make sure it's compatible. But basically, this is going to plug into here like this, and then into your power supply from there. These cables are used for three separate things. One of them is to connect your pump to your hub, like this. They also connect your fans to the hub. And lastly, they connect your fans to each other, like this. Now let's actually set this up in the case. We're gonna need these screws, so let's open them up. These are for the fans, these are for connecting the radiator to the case, and these are your washers, obviously. They're used for the screws that connect the radiator to the case. So as you can see in my case, I still have the cables here from the old fans, and they're pretty messy, like this one isn't long enough to reach. That type of thing isn't an issue with these newer fans. The other nice thing about them is that they have the logo on both the front and the back, so whether it's intake or outtake, you still get the nice image on the front instead of all of this text. First thing I'm gonna do is take off these pre-installed brackets. And when I do attach the radiator, I'm gonna be attaching it to the top of the case. In my case right now with this setup, that's gonna put the fans closer to each other so I can link them more easily. When I replace all of the fans in the system, I might try mounting it vertically, which is what Corsair recommends. But in the meantime, this is just going to be easier. I almost forgot, you do also have these little Corsair logos that you can snap off of here. The other side is blank, right? I'm just gonna swap these over just to demonstrate that they're pretty easy to remove. So obviously this is pretty straightforward. Just finger tighten them and then tighten them down with a screwdriver. And at that point, you're good to let go and put in the rest of the screws. So since my build is AMD, I'm going to take this off and I'm gonna remove the brackets because right now, these are for Intel. It comes packed that way. So something that can be a bit of a hassle and pretty annoying, especially if you didn't expect it, is that on the back of this motherboard, even though it's AMD, I have a little thumb screw here that I can loosen. We lower that enough so you guys can see this. This is the guy that you want to have stuck right through there because you want these standoffs to be sticking through those holes, not loosely jiggling around behind them. I'm sure there's a reason that you can remove this, but the fact that it does come off is pretty annoying. Just please stay in place. You Feel free to criticize me about my decisions with thermal paste in the comments below. At this point, you probably want to remove the Scotch tape from the back of your motherboard. Ridiculous. This is going to be an outtake fan, so the face is going to be pointing the inside of the case so that it sucks air out. Okay. So this is the kind of connection that the shorter cable is made for, since these are right next to each other. There's one. You'll also notice like one of these cables has a regular connection as opposed to an angled connection. So in this case, the regular connection is a good fit for this spot here, because if I was to use the angled one, it has to force itself to navigate around the tubes here. Okay, so I'm pretty excited to use this hub because it's magnetic. And the other thing is there's just so many fewer cables than the commander core that came with the H150. So this is the one that's going to plug into the CPU fan header. It can also plug into the AIO pump header, but it's better to use the CPU fan header if you can to avoid issues in the BIOS. The smaller end goes right down here. Other end is going to run up through here, and then I'll spin it around after I plug in this cable and show you where they both go into the motherboard. This is the one that ends up going into the USB port in the bottom middle of the motherboard. This end of it, the micro USB, is going to plug in right here, and this end is going to wrap around down here. Now let's go to the front. So that tiny cable came out right here in the top, and it's going to go into this input right here that says CPU fan. And you can tell how it's supposed to be slotted in because there's like a little track here that's carved out from the top. You'll notice that there's 4 pins here, there's 3 pin slots here, and above 3 of these is this little slider that the track is going to fit around. So that's how you know on this motherboard at least. Here it goes. There's 2 USB inputs here. One of them is taken and the other one is where I'm gonna plug this in. But instead, I'm actually gonna wait until we use the LCD screen because it has a splitter and it also has another USB that we'll need to plug into that port. All right, so let's plug it into power now. We're on to our last 2 cables. I took my power supply out of the case so we can access the PCIe port. So this end is gonna go into the power supply. Normally these 2 would plug into your graphics card and you would pinch these together so it acts like an 8-pin. Instead, we're just gonna leave it separate like that and plug this side of this cable onto that like a 6-pin. This is the input for the PCIe. You just look for the one that's labeled PCIe. At this point, just make sure all of the cables that you have plugged into your power supply are still snug. Now it's just a matter of trying to get this thing back in here and then we can get to the cool LCD screen. Well, you just simply put in your power supply and once you've plugged in all the cables, holy fucking shit. Okay, put this up here. Maybe this part can go over there, go in like that. So simple. And that's the screen. Probably shouldn't be slamming it onto the table like that. The way this attaches is I just pull this off by squeezing. There we go. You've got a spot right here where you can see that the pins on here line up. It should pop right on. So if you were to use this original cap, it's pretty easy to change the orientation of the logo. It actually comes off like very easily, surprisingly easy. Just barely sticks on there at all, actually. There's a little bit of a magnetic force holding it there, and you can just spin it into one of 4 directions. So from here, it's pretty easy. You have 2 cables. You've got a USB cable to USB-C. The USB-C just goes into the top of the pump here, and then you can run that to the back and out the bottom, where you'll plug it into the USB port here that's remaining, and you can use this splitter if you need to. Which I do because all of my other fans are plugged into the other USB port, so the splitter is coming in handy for me. So I'll just connect the USB now. You line up the missing pin with the spot where there's no pin. Okay. So like I said, installing the LCD cap on here is easy. You really just plug it in, route it around, and plug it in again. That's the whole thing. So let's check it out. This was an amazing moment for me because it's not only the first time I'm seeing the LCD screen, but it's the first time I'm seeing my whole setup at 100% completion with the PC that I built on the desk and the screen. So everything was just kind of coming together in this moment. It was very special for me. But this video is about the AIO and the LCD screen for you guys. So I'll do a whole overview or like reveal kind of thing of the whole setup in a totally different video and kind of go over everything that I did and maybe kind of condense the process for you guys. But basically this is what it looks like. You can customize the GIF that you want to put on there. There's a lot of GIFs on Giphy.com that you can use, and there's a lot that you can do in the software iCUE to control your AIO, your fan curves, and all kinds of stuff like that. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I hope this was helpful if you guys were just trying to follow along and install it. When you do go into iCUE, basically you're just going to want to accept all of the firmware updates and anything that needs to be done for it to recognize devices that you've plugged in. But thank you guys for watching again, and I hope I see you guys in another one coming up soon.